That is correct. Avshalom had killed his older brother Amnon, and he went to fled to his grandfather, and then Yoav brought him back with the help of the woman from Tekoa. Remember?
Who had the accent?
Right, very good. She pretended that she was a widow, and she eventually convinced David that the right thing was to bring Avshalom back. So David agreed, and Avshalom came back. However, David wanted Avshalom to stay out of his sight, but Avshalom, after 2 years, decided that he wants an audience with the king, and so he called Yoav to help him. Yoav didn't come, so he burnt his field. Eventually Yoav worked on his behalf, and they made up a meeting, and that's what we're up to. David and Shalom are now back together. Chapter 15, I think. Right? Tez Zion. No, Tez Vav.
Yeah, 32.
Tez Vav. Page 32. Okay, that's what we're up to. Vayehi. And it was. Me'acharei came. That's a slightly strange way of saying it. Usually it's Vayehi acharei came, which would mean after this. It means this story follows the previous story. And whenever we've seen that expression, we've said it doesn't just follow historically, because we would have been able to work that out on our own from the fact that it's written afterwards. We would have assumed it happened afterwards unless we had some reason to assume. Not like that. Okay? So the reason why it points this out is because there really is a strong relationship between these two stories. It's another way of saying, as a result of what we just said, this was able to take place. Right? Vayas lo Avshalom merkava. Avshalom made for himself a chariot. Merkava is a chariot. Israeli tank is called a merkava. Gets its name from this word. Rechav is a car or a chariot, or something. Merkava. Vesusim and horses. So it seems like Avshalom is acting in a rather... Please join our class. What's your name?
Sagiv.
Sagiv.
Yeah.
Wow, what a name. Sagiv. Please sit down. Sadiq is a Sadiq. What's your surname, Sagiv?
Sagiv.
Sagiv is your family name?
No, first name.
What's your family name?
Shoshani.
Shoshanim?
Shoshani.
Shoshani.
Yeah.
Means your family's from Shushan originally.
Yeah. Persian.
Wow, Persian. I can see that with it. It's a giveaway.
Yeah.
Shoshani. Wow. Shushan. You know, like where the Purim story took place? That's where his ancestors are from Shushan. Shushan.
Okay.
Wow. Sagiv. What does Sagiv mean?
It means like big.
Powerful?
Yeah.
A lot?
Yeah. That's it.
Wow. Okay. All right, you're welcome to our class. You need a copy.
He was recently returned.
I was your Gesher.
You were in Gesher?
Yeah.
Oh,
I
wow.
thought you knew it. Yeah.
No. You're nothing.
So now he's back.
Shoshani. Wow. Okay.
Wait, do you have another
The Gemara calls people from Shushan are slightly different. The Gemara calls some of them, they call them Shushanchi, I think so. Like a guy from Manchester is called a Mancunian. So guys from Shushan are called Shushanchi, I think. That's in Aramaic, but you speak Farsi, I guess, so Aramaic's not relevant. Okay, all right, let's continue. So after this story, Avshalom makes himself a chariot with horses. Not just that, v'chamishim ish rotzim lefonov, and 50 men on page 32 running in front of him. This seems to be quite a common thing in royalty. That you would have to have the same thing today. You have the queen or the king in his chariot, and in front of them there's horse riders on the horses, or guys marching in front. So here in those days they had people running in front of the chariot. They had to run because you had horses in a chariot. They couldn't just walk because it was too, I guess. Okay, but that was, it looks like that so long as Avshalom was in what's the word? Not in royal favor. Yes?
Dishonor.
Right, with a person non grata, I think is what they call it, right? A person who was not in favor with the king, he had to keep to himself. He wasn't under house arrest, but he had to act in a simple manner, right? Now that he was back in favor with his father and he was welcome in the royal palace, he was able to act in this royal fashion. He had his own chariot, his own horses, guys running in front of him, so he was able to act the part of prince. That's why it says, and it was after this. It was only after that he was back in royal favor he was able to act like this. Otherwise, he would have got a slap across the face and told to behave, keep his place. But Hishkim, now this is something Avshalom used to do, right? That's what it says, vehishkim, in the future. It doesn't mean he did it in the future. It means he did it now, and he did it on a regular basis. Avshalom used to do as follows. He would get up early. Not because he was a big tzaddik who wanted to have an innate, but why did he get up early? The Amad, and then he would stand. Al yad derech hasha'ar, by the way of the gate. Sha'ar is the gate. The derech is the road that goes through the gate or leads to the gate. Al yad means he was next to us. So he would stand by the road that goes to the gate. The gate that goes where, it doesn't say where, but it means the gate that went into Yerushalayim probably. There's an entrance to Yerushalayim, people came. Now why were they coming to Yerushalayim? Particular people he was interested in meeting were people who were coming to court. The highest court of appeal, like it is in England, is the House of Lords. Right? Probably there's one in America called the highest court of appeal, what it's called, right? And that's where in Eretz Yisrael it was the king's palace. Right? A guy who felt that he was not dealt with fairly by the judges had the right to appeal in front of the king. Okay? So he was out to get people like that. He was out to make a conversation with people like that. That's probably why he had to get up early. Because I imagine his father got up for nates every morning. I mean, look, in those days everybody got up for nates. It wasn't a big deal. Right? There was no such thing as an after nates minyan. Right? No such thing. I once read a letter, somebody wrote to the Rambam. He wanted to open up a later minyan in his town, after nates. The Rambam said, of course not, you can't do such a thing. Look, I understand the Rambam. Sometimes that guy's had a hard night, the kids are up all night, and you get up late. But that happens. That's not a reason to make a minyan, right? You have to make an official late minyan. No way. Everyone damn it in nates. Okay, that's how it used to be. It's true, to be fair, before James, what's his name, Edison invented the light bulb, what was his name? Thomas Edison, okay, whatever. James' brother, right? When before there was light bulbs, people went to bed early, right? Got dark, you went to bed, so you got up for nates, right? Anyway, but so it doesn't mean you got up early to go to nates. It means you got up early because you wanted to catch the people who were on the way to speak to David immediately after the davening. After David ate breakfast, he immediately went and sat and presided over the court of appeals. Right. Why did he want to speak to them? Vayihi, and it was Kolish, any man, Asher Yelo Riv, who had a quarrel. Riv is a quarrel.
A fight?
Yes, a fight, but it doesn't mean fight. Fight would sound like that, right? We're not talking about that. It means a guy who's having a quarrel, a fight with his neighbor. It doesn't mean they fought physically. It means they had a quarrel. Lavo el HaMelech, to come to the king. La mishpat, for justice. The guy who felt that he could only get justice by the king. Usually, if you have a quarrel with your neighbor, you go to the local court, right? Presumably the guy's done that already. And he feels that he's right, but he can't prove himself right. He needs the king, because the king has the right to judge not based on normal evidence. A Sanhedrin, a regular based in, has to judge by normal evidence. So you could be right, but not be able to prove it. So what do you do then? So if you can convince the king that you're right, he may get you win the case, even though you didn't manage to prove it.
Who is above? Is the king above the Sanhedrin, or is that?
Depends in what sense. In the sense that the king is obligated to keep the law, just like anybody else. King can't be Machal Shabbos, so he's subject to the laws of the Sanhedrin. But the king has the right to judge based on different types of evidence. So what do you mean? In what sense?
If I get proven not right, if I get not my right at the Sanhedrin, I work all the courts, get to Sanhedrin.
So the point is,
court.
once you've gone to the Sanhedrin, which is the highest court, but those courts will work based on evidence. So if you didn't have evidence, you'll lose the case, even if you're right. Okay, so then you have the right to go to the king, and the king will say, "Look, I hear what you're saying. It's true that you don't have evidence, but I can see that you're telling the truth." And then the king may get you. You may win. So in that sense, the king is above. It's not really above. It's just a different system of being able to prove something.
Right, but can the king refute a decision from the Sanhedrin?
That's what I just said.
Yeah,
what do you mean refute?
No,
he can't take their evidence and say the evidence is wrong. No, he can't do that. But he can judge based on different criteria.
Yeah.
He doesn't need the same absolute evidence that based in them.
That I understand, but I just don't understand. Like, when the Sanhedrin makes a decision, can the guy then go to the king and can the king then say, Sanhedrin, big X through the Sanhedrin's decision, and now this is the decision? What can the king not do that?
I can't relate to your question because you're not listening to what I'm saying. Yes,
no, I'm
yes,
listening
yeah, I
to
know.
what you're saying,
But the way you're saying it, you're trying to push me into a corner. No, the way you're saying it, the king can't do that. But on any particular case, The king can say, based on the merits that I think this guy has convinced me is right, even though he doesn't have evidence, he can win the case. He can't say the Sanhedrin's rules are wrong.
No.
That he can't do. But he can say that this, on a one-off, this particular case, I feel that this guy's right, even though he didn't manage to prove it. Understand? If the Sanhedrin would say, we have evidence this guy's a liar, he's a thief, he's a Mechal Shabbos, there's nothing the king can do about it, right? But if they say, look, I lent you guys money, and I did it without a contract, I can't prove that I lent you the money. So the king will say, well, give me some proof, because I have one witness. I have three women as witnesses. Now they're not acceptable in a Sanhedrin, in a court. But the king may feel that with all that he has fingerprints, right? Or what's a fingerprint? It doesn't prove anything, right? But it's circumstantial evidence. The king is allowed to base his decisions on circumstantial evidence, which therefore would override even the rule of the Sanhedrin. So I think that's what this guy wants to do. This guy is coming to the king to sort out his quarrel, right? Not that that's the first place you go. The king's got more important things to do than sort out your quarrels. But if the guy's been through the system and he feels that he's right but still wasn't able to convince them, then he can go to the king. That's what it says. Shaul HaMelech to come for justice. So Avshalom would meet people that I say, hey, and he'd greet to them, he'd say hello to them. Avshalom would call to him. And he would say, he said, open a conversation. He said, where are you from? From which city are you? And he would say, what would he say? Your servant is from one of the cities of Israel. I mean, he wouldn't say that, he'd probably say which it is. But since it happened on a common basis, the author isn't telling you all the answers that were said. But the guy would say, this is where he would open a conversation. Where are you from and how you doing? It's nice to meet you. Right? And Avshalom would say, Ray, see, devarecha. After opening, it doesn't say, he would open a conversation and he would say, what are you doing here? Oh, yeah, I've come to speak to your father who's the king and I've come for justice. And well, what's the story? So he would tell him the whole story and he'd tell him why. And Avshalom would invariably say to this guy, Devarecha toivim, your words are good, unechochim, and correct. Right? I think it means provable, like lehochiach means to prove something. I think you've proven your case. That's what Avshalom would say. V'shomea ein lecha me'eis HaMelech. But no one's going to listen to your claim in the king. The king's not going to listen to you. V'shomea, and the listener, ein lecha, you do not have me'eis HaMelech from the king. It means, I think you're right, but I'm telling you the king's not going to listen to you.
Sorry, I came late. I should have a question. So this guy that's telling me this right now is the son of the king.
Correct.
And he's talking to the person who's coming that wants to speak to the king to get justice.
Correct.
And the king is, right now in this case, he's telling him that the king won't hear what he's saying.
He won't agree
The
with
son
you.
of the king is telling him that the king won't hear what he's saying.
Won't agree with you. Yeah. He's a bad guy. He's a baddie.
The guy that's...
This Avshalom. The son is a bad guy.
Wow.
Nasty guy. He killed his brother. He burnt his neighbor's field. Not such a nice guy.
And these guys are what? They're... What,
There's like
What, is it tzaddik or not?
No, I'm saying they're Jewish, these guys?
Yeah, sure. This is David's son. Yeah, no, right. You just came. Oh, this is King David,
three
right?
chapters.
Right. This
Last
is
three
King
chapters.
David's son. Okay, and King David is being punished for a certain terrible sin that he did. Right, and this is his fourth punishment, which is a rebellion of his son, and we're just in the background for the rebellion. So this son of his, right, who's very handsome, right, he acts very frum. He acts like a Nazir, right? He grows his hair very, very long and cuts it once a year, right? We've mentioned that he's got 4 children, 3 sons and 1 daughter, and he's a bit of a wild character, right? I mean, when he killed his brother, that was because he was revenging for the fact that his older brother raped his older sister, but that's another story, right? So just a little bit of background, okay? And you read the last 3 chapters, right? Or you can listen to my recordings if you want. Give me your email, I'll send them to you, right? And now he is sowing the seeds for the groundwork for taking over the kingdom. That's what he's doing. So he has to put into people's minds the thought that he would be a better king than his father. That's the point. If only I were king, you would have better justice than you to get over there.
He's planting a seed in there.
Right, he's planting a seed in their minds, exactly. And he would do this on a regular basis. I'd say, you go to the king, he's not going to listen to you. Now, the truth is, he said, I'm telling you, I think you're right. Now, this is sort of a gamble that you can't lose. If he goes to the court and David sides with this fellow. So you say, wow, Avshalom was right. David said the same. And if he loses in court, what's he going to think? Avshalom was right, but David doesn't understand. Because everyone who goes to court thinks they're right. Nobody goes to court thinking that they're wrong. Right? Even if you can't prove your case, you think you're right. So if he's going to win this case, you say, well, Avshalom was right. And if he's going to lose the case, he says, if only Avshalom were there, then I would have got justice. Right? So this is Avshalom's cunning move. Avshalom, and then Avshalom would say, Mi yasimeni shofet ba'aretz. Who would place me just judge over the land? If only I would be doing it. You're going to go to the king's not going to listen to you, but if only I would judge, things would be better. V'alai yavo kol ish. And upon me will come every man, asher yiel or riv, who will have a quarrel. Umishpat. And wants justice. V'hitz daktiv. Now, anyone work out what that means?
I would give him.
I would make him right from the word tzedek.
Yeah.
Right? Doesn't have to do with what we use tzedek, meaning a guy who's takes some time with davening. No, the word tzedek just means righteous, means correct. And I would make him correct. If only I would be judge. And people would come to me with their complaints, then I would make them right. I would make sure what the person who's right would win the case.
What form of speech? Is that a...
No, it's Hebrew. It's regular Hebrew.
He wants to know what form it is. It's the hif, it's causative. The hey means to make somebody else into the tzaddik.
So it's... Okay.
Tiv means him. I will make him into the one who is correct.
Also in Hebrew, if someone says something, you say, Ani matzdik otcha, Ani matzdik.
Exactly the same word.
Yeah.
Means to make you correct. That's also the hifel, right?
That's just... Okay.
Right. V'haya, and it will be. No. Here it means and it was. V'haya can mean it will be, right? Because the vav can change haya. Haya means was, v'haya means it, and it will be. It can also mean and it was. V'haya, and it was. Bikrav ish, when the man got close. Right? Kirov. You do kirov because you're in Aish. Right? You do kirov. Kirov means to bring other people close. Right? This means when he got close. Bikrav ish li'ishtachavois, when the guy would get close to bowing down. Means as a form of greeting and respect and thank you to this great Avshalom who sided with him, he would want to bow to him. And he would send out his hand, means Avshalom would get hold, and he would get hold of him. Don't bow down to me. Just, don't have to show me such respect. And then he would kiss him.
Wait, who would kiss who?
Avshalom would kiss the man who wanted to bow to him. He would get hold of him and say, you don't need to bow down to me, and give him a kiss. Let's stay friends and go off and see what justice you get in the palace.
Another way of manipulation.
Right, this is manipulation. The hechazik, to get hold of him, to stop him from stopping the other fellow from bowing down to him. This is all false humility. This is, like you say, manipulating.
Yeah.
Getting his way into people's hearts. They should, over the years, learn to like this very generous, and he's a prince, don't forget, and he could be not interested in people at all. He's interested in the guy in the street who's not getting justice. He's going to fight for him. This way, all politicians work the same way, right? Till you vote for them. Once they're in power, then they forget about you, right? Okay. Vayas Avshalom kadav hazeh, and Avshalom did this like this manner. L'chol Yisrael, to all Jews, asher yavo'u, who would come la mishpat for justice el HaMelech, to the king. He did this to everybody who came. Vayiganev Avshalom, a slave anshe Yisrael. And Avshalom, what did he do?
Stole her heart.
Stole her heart. So when you say that expression in English, you don't actually steal someone's heart. You don't rip him open and put his heart out. No, it's an expression. It means to get people to side with you when they really should not be. Okay? And anshe Yisrael, the men of Israel. Now that sounds like a level up. Up to now it was on an individual basis. Then it says l'chol Yisrael, to all the Jews. Then it says anshe Yisrael. Now the word anshe doesn't mean the men as opposed to the women. No, that's gever is a man as opposed to woman. Anashim means men of stature. We had in Parshas Shalach that Moshe Rabbeinu sent the spies, and it says after listing all of them, it says kulam anoshim. So he says, what's that trying to say? It's trying to say they're all men. I know they're all men because it says Koleg Ben Yefuna. So I know he's a man because it says Ben.
So what is it?
So why does it word Anoshim? It says Kulam Chashuvim. The word Anoshim means men of stature, means men of importance. The spies were not regular guys, they were very important. It says, Tzadikim hayu ba'os hashar. When they were sent, they were tzadikim. Later on, they changed, but they were tzadikim at the time they were sent. Okay? So when it says over here, Vayiganev Avshalis Leiv Anshe Yisrael, it's trying to say more than just what it said beforehand. It's talking about the people of stature, which Chazal say it means even the people of the Sanhedrin. Even people weren't just your regular guys, the rabbis and the judges, even they, he managed to manipulate them and get them on his side, and they liked him. Now, you have to remember, this is all coming after the awful story of David HaMelech, right? Which you don't know, but you have to listen to, right? Is that David HaMelech was accused by the public of adultery and murder. Adultery with Bathsheba and murder of Uriah. Now, we've managed to, mitigate David's offense, right? And to a certain extent, right, of not wasn't adultery because she was really divorced at the time, and it wasn't murder because he was insubordinate, right? So on technicalities, David didn't violate either of those sins, but he's still done an awful crime, which the Navi goes mad with him, and God was really annoyed with him for. So even if he's not committed either of those two crimes, he's certainly done something really bad. The community at large is not so forgiving as maybe Chazal are, and the God is, and the Navi is, and we were. They really had it in for David, and so what could they do? He's the king, they can't throw him out. And they didn't, right? But they're certainly not happy with him, right? And they probably don't think that he's fit to be in this position anymore, because he was picked because he was a big tzaddik, and now we find out. Maybe he was then, but he's not anymore, right? So now we have this young, not so young, guy who's tall, dark, and handsome, and he's a big tzaddik, and everyone loves him, and he's sweet and prepared to all the social changes that need to be done in society, and he's going to bring justice, and wow, he's the guy you want. So they didn't have elections, because they couldn't elect him, but when the time comes, they'll join his side. And maybe even the great rabbis at the time also, they're kind of as Leiv Anshe Yisrael. They really thought, the rabbis also thought David wasn't fit for it. I said David used to walk in the base of Medrash, and people used to tease him about his crimes that he'd done. What crimes? Okay? Well, it was the time of war, wasn't it? Vayihi, it was. Now, this is a very, 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 very strange pasuk. Vayihi, and it was Miketz at the end of Arboim Shana, 40 years. Now that sounds like, if you'd be reading the text, it would mean 40 years since what? From when?
Since the last pasuk.
No, it's something like that. Yeah, it could have been, but that's unlikely. What do you think is the most likely candidate for the beginning of this 40 years? David's reign. Yeah. That's what I would have assumed, right? It means he's being king for 40 years, and this is the end of the 40 years, and now it's time to move on, and now someone else is going to take over, or going to try and take over, or he thinks it's time to take over because 40 years are up, right? The problem is, it will be very, very clear later on, or we even learned to beforehand, right at the beginning it says that David was only king for 40 years, and there's still a few years to go.
That makes
right?
sense, right?
So it's,
why plug in here in the middle? We're going to speak about David.
Again. Yeah, the question's better. It's better than the way you're asking it. If the simple reading of this means that David was king for 40 years, right? Then this couldn't have taken place now, because there's still so you said why plug it in here. The question is much more than why plug it. It's just wrong.
Wait, we speak about David after this?
Yeah, David's going till the end of the book, and he starts king.
Why put it?
No. It's better than the way you're asking it. It's wrong. It can't be he was king for 40 years, because he was only king for 40 years altogether, and he's still king.
Born before the start of David's rule?
Yeah, very likely. So it means that he was 40 years old. They should say Ben Arbaim. So Chazal say doesn't mean that. Chazal say it means 40 years since the monarchy. Not since David was king, but since the monarchy, which means since Shaul became king. Now you could ask your thing, it's still a bit of a weird way to say something. Like, who cares? Like, why is that important?
I mean, you could also just say that too.
What?
Instead of, you said, yeah, it's probably not 40 years, not when he was 40 years old, because it would have said that, but you also could say,
no. There's a difference between what you're suggesting. It's just the wrong way to say it. What I'm saying is, it's like missing information. You say, at the end of 40 years from when, at the end of 40 years when a person's born, you say it like that.
Because also, isn't Miketz often used in like lineage, and like monarchy implies lineage?
No, Ketz means the end of 2 years after years you've had a dream, and Pharaoh had a dream, right? The end of 2 years means the end of something.
There was always like
Is the Jews are like, that's why Chazal, but I don't know why pick Shaul as being the starting point of this 40
Maybe it's
years.
the starting book
40
of the
years.
book.
That's not true either. So the book was the birth of Shmuel, right? And he's been dead many years already, and that was 52 years ago. No, it doesn't work. Okay, but now, if this is the starting point, this means it was like 2 years before the death of David. Because Shaul was king for 2 years, and David was king for 40 years. So 40 years since, it's been 2 years before the end of David, and that could very well be. We'll see, there's a few more stories. Whatever. I know, it's a bit weird, either way. But he became, it was at the end of 40 years. Avshalom said to the king, which means he said to his father, El Chana, Al please go, means please let me go. When you speak to the king, when you make a suggestion, it means you're asking for permission. Please give me permission to go. Va'ashalem es nidri. What does that mean? L'shalem means?
Complete
Pay.
my oath.
To pay, right? Can mean,
My oath.
Lehashlim would be to complete. To my oath. What oath is he talking about? He's going to explain. Asher nodarti, that I oathed. It's not really an oath, it's a promise. Right? An oath is what you do in court. You swear under oath, right? A neder is a promise. I want to pay my promise.
Want to swear, no?
A shavua is an oath. Oath is to swear. Oath and swear is the same thing. Right. But this is a neder. Neder is a promise. I will pay my promise. Asher nodarti la'Hashem, that I promise to God b'Chevron. Now, I didn't promise it in Hebron. Means I want to pay my promise in Hebron. Now, what promise is he talking about? He hasn't said yet. Ki neder nodar avdecha, because your servant promised a promise. Neder is a promise. Nodar is a verb. Right? The stress at the beginning. You see, the first one has a stress at the beginning of the word. It's a neder. How do I know the stress is at the beginning? It's got those two funny lines. And the first one is to show that the stress is at the beginning of the word. The second word is a verb. So it's nadar. So I promised a promise. Who did? Avdecha, your servant, and me. When did I do this? B'shivti, when I settled, or I lived, b'geshur, in Geshur. What's Geshur?
That's a town where his grandfather
Very
was.
good. His grandfather is the king of Geshur. But Aram, interesting, we didn't know that Geshur is part of Aram. I didn't know that, but here it says Geshur is part of Aram. The Aram has many, many different parts to it. Aram Naharaim, Aram Tzova, Aram Damesek, and here's a new Aram, Aram Geshur. So it's part of the Aramean Empire, which is divided into different sections. This is the part called Geshur, and he was the king of the area called Geshur, who was Avshalom's grandfather. Now he went there after he killed his brother, and he had to run away from his father. So when I was there, I made a promise to God. What did I promise? Leimar, this is what I said. Im yashov yeshiveni Hashem Yerushalayim. If God will bring me back to Yerushalayim, I made a promise. If God, I don't think he ever did this, but this is what he says he did, right? That if God will bring me back to Yerushalayim, v'alvadeti es Hashem, then I will serve God. What I meant by serve God means I promise to bring some type of sacrifice when I come back. Now, I made that promise, and now I'm back in Yerushalayim. I've actually been back in Yerushalayim for 2 years. But up till now, I haven't really had a chance to do this because I've been, what do you say, persona non grata in my own home. And now I'm free to move around. So I'd like to fulfill my promise now. Just a minute. And he wants to go to Hebron to bring his promise and bring his sacrifice in Hebron. Yes.
When you say the 2 years, does that mean the 2 years that he was in Geshur, waiting to come?
No. There's 2 years that he was in Yerushalayim.
And he wasn't able to see David.
Correct. So during that time, I suppose he couldn't get permission to go to Hebron either.
Why?
Oh, because he couldn't get permission to go to speak to David.
But wasn't he invited back to Yerushalayim by David?
Yeah, but David didn't want to see him. David said, stay in your house, I don't want to see you.
So what, he can't leave?
I don't know. It's a good question. That's why I say. I don't think he was under house arrest, right? But it looks like that.
Well,
Otherwise, David should say, you're asking a question, I'm trying to say the answer. That it would seem from the story you can just move around freely. Otherwise, David should say, why did it take you so long to keep your promise?
Yeah.
You should have done it a long time ago. So I think the answer to that is, so long as he was out of David's favor, maybe his movements were limited. Again, I don't know for sure. But, or it could be he didn't have an answer to this question. Look, it took me time to get around to it, and it took me 4 years to get around to keep my. It's a long time to make a promise, right?
It sounds like a
yeah,
lie.
well, yeah.
Oh, for sure it's a lie.
Yeah,
But then
exactly.
David should have said to you, I don't believe you. Why does David trust him if it's obviously a lie? That's why I'm saying there must be some good
Okay, so
excuse.
yeah, the timing is too
Yeah.
conspicuous.
You know, But I'd say there must be some good excuse, otherwise David would have capped, unless David's daydreaming. No, but I think there's more like there was some type of good. He felt that this is now a good time to do it because now I can go with all my servants and my
Amnon and Avshalom with the party.
Okay, also talking.
You missed the clue there too.
All right, yeah, it's easy for you to talk because you know the story in the end, right? But David,
I don't know the story.
Yeah, but so what was I told you there's a rebellion coming up. Okay. He also, you know, that he's been manipulating people all these 2 years while he's been around, right?
Yes.
David doesn't know that either.
Okay,
People don't go around telling him, "Oh, I saw him send this to
fine.
me."
You missed the first one because like you didn't suspect Avshalom of being somewhat treacherous. Fine, but like for him to
Well, what's it? One thing, all he's going to do is bring a carbon. Like, what's the big deal?
No, I'm saying the first time.
I know the second time. What's he going to do the second time? He wants to bring a carbon. What can happen? You bring a
I
carbon.
wouldn't trust him for a word.
So what are you going to do? You're going to lock him in his house the whole time?
The last time that he said,
What do you want him to do?
Do this, he said, "Oh, I'm just going to invite my brother," and then he killed him.
So what's he going to do? He's got no brothers to kill now. They're all
Yeah,
killed him.
he's going to hear what he says and assume the opposite. That's what he should do.
Yeah, but if he says
No, but he's going to take his carbon along. Anyway, listen, I've shown
You
him
actually
very.
go with him and like watch him.
We're going to watch it like, oh.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, that's what you would have done.
Crazy
Fine, but
enough
David's
to.
running it.
He killed his son last
David's
time.
running a kingdom. He loves his son.
And he can't spare one person to watch him?
Oh, well, wait a second. How many people does it? We haven't seen the story yet. Let's see what happens.
Wait,
Okay, let's go slowly.
He's asking his father David HaMelech to go to Hebron. Why is he asking him that?
Why is he asking permission?
For what? He needs to ask permission.
Yes, you can't just do whatever you want as a king. King gives you permission, right? I mean, depends what you want to do there, right? Let's see. This is going to be a big thing that he's going to do. He's not just pick one guy with one little sheep, right? He's going a whole entourage of people. He's making a big affair. For that, you need permission from the king. All right, let's see. I have a different question. Why are you doing it in Hebron? If I were David, I would say,
Yerushalayim.
well, Yerushalayim, there's no Beis HaMikdash.
Oh.
Where was the Mishkan at the time? The Mishkan was in Givon. Was it a town called Givon? We know that because at the beginning of Malachim Aleph, the Mishkan is in Givon, right? So David should have said, look, want to bring a sacrifice, no problem, but go to Givon, right? But he doesn't. So again, there must have been some cover story. Why Hebron? I guess Hebron is where David comes from. Hebron is a place of prayer. How do I know Hebron's a place of prayer? Well, that's where Ma'aras and Machpelah is. That's where our patriarchs are buried. That's where Kalev, you remember Kalev? Kalev, when he was one of the 12 spots, and he wanted to go to pray, he went to pray in Hebron. So I imagine it doesn't necessarily... Now, the real reason, I imagine, is because Hebron was where David started his monarchy. David was king in Hebron for 7.5 years before he became king in Yerushalayim. So if you want to push your father out and take over the monarchy, maybe it's a good place to go, where your father started. Maybe there's a lot of support in Hebron because that's where the families come from. You understand? Hebron is like a major city. He's right. It's a major city in Yehuda. Avshalom is from Yehuda. So all his cousins and his second cousins and his uncles and aunties all live there. So if you want, and true, they're also uncles and aunties of David as well, right? But if he wants the family support, maybe that's the place to go. So it could be Hebron as a place, but that's not what he tells David. He probably told David, why Hebron? Well, Hebron's a great place to play, isn't it? That's where you would pray if you wanted. That's where our ancestors buried. That's why I want to go there and bring a sacrifice. Now, were you allowed to bring sacrifice outside the Mishkan? That's another question. Right? If it was a halachic problem, David would have said to him, sorry, you're not allowed to do that. Right? So it's obvious that it was permitted to do at the time. And the reason why it was permitted to do at the time is because the ark wasn't in the Mishkan. Right? The ark was in Yerushalayim, and the Mishkan was in the Mishkan. In those days, it's a Mishnah in Megillah, right? That says that when the ark is not in the Mishkan, you're allowed to bring sacrifices somewhere else. Good.
So what was at Harabait and where was the Mishkan?
Harabais.
I mean,
It was a goy lived there in Ravna. He had a barn there. There was nothing there.
was
Right.
Was it nothing?
It's already destroyed.
No.
Sorry,
It's
sorry,
okay.
It's nothing built there. It was nothing.
It wasn't
There
built.
was nothing. There was a guy who had a barn there. But later on, in a few chapters' time, David is going to buy it and he's going to use it for the temple. But in the meantime, the ark
So
was in
where
a
was the
tent. Mishkan was in Nov. Just like the Mishkan was for 369 years in Shiloh. Okay? It then moved to... no, it didn't move to Nov.
Givon.
It moved to Givon. Oh, sorry, the other way around. It moved first to Nov, and then it was destroyed, and then now it's in Givon. Sorry. It was in... Yeah? Now it's in Givon.
Where's Nov and where's Givon?
Givon is near Givat Zev.
We drove past it.
It says Givon HaYeshana, the old Givon. You know where Givat Zev is? Oh, you go up to Ramot. You know where Ramot is? So you keep going on the Ramot roads, past the tomb of Shmuel HaNavi. Keep going on the left hand side. You get to Givon. That's where Givon is. Where's Nov? There's a Nov in the Golan, but it's not the same Nov.
Yeah.
Wait, so he was going to Givon?
He was going to Hebron.
So what? So what's in Givon?
I just the ark. No, not the ark. The Mishkan. I just mentioned that as a side point. Right?
So right now,
I'm trying to say he's going to Hebron. We just explain. Why didn't David say, "What do you want to go to Hebron for? Why don't you go to Givon to the Mishkan?" So he probably had a good cover story for it. Okay, that doesn't say. All right. So what does it say? So he's going to Hebron, and he says that he's going to Hebron in order to keep his vow. Could be he made a vow. It could be he didn't make a vow. It could be he's going to keep his vow. No idea. We don't know. We don't know the truth, right? I wouldn't trust this guy with But he might be telling the truth. Okay. Vayomer HaMelech lech b'shalom. Go in peace. Now I must warn you that we don't use this expression anymore.
Because of this?
Yes.
We
don't say lech b'shalom, we say lech l'shalom.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
If you say lech b'shalom, you only say that to a person who's died. If you go to a funeral, you will hear the Chevra Kadisha, that's the guys who do the burial, they say lech b'shalom, go in peace. Yeah. We don't say that expression anymore, because you see that David said this to his son, and he never saw him again. Wow. Because very shortly after this story, he gets killed. So you don't say lech b'shalom. Because lech, I think the reason like this. Well, maybe you could say that, something you don't like, right? Lech l'shalom literally means go to peace. That means peace is the same as perfection, completeness. So if I say go to perfectness, means you're not there yet. I want you to continue on your journey to completeness. If I say lech b'shalom, that means go in peace, means you're already complete. But if you're already complete, there's no need to be here. Once you complete it, you might as well go to the next world. So it's not actually a positive greeting. But I don't think David HaMelech knew this. And it was sort of a slip of the tongue. It was what you called Freudian slip. I'm not sure, probably not, because even Freudian slips are only when you mean them. You just subconsciously mean them. This is more like what Chazal say, Niba v'lo yoda ma niba. He prophesied without realizing he was prophesying. So anyway, that's if you don't say anything, but go in peace. Yakom, David has no problem. You want to go? Go, good take, as they say in Yiddish. Go in good health. Yakom, and he got up. Vayelech, and he went. Chevrona means to Hebron. Very good. The M means to Hebron. So he went to Hebron. Now, I think that this story is again backup story. It means a background story. It doesn't mean he did this now. It means he's been doing this up till now. His plans. Or it could be as soon as he got permission to go to Hebron. He didn't go to Hebron straight away. Right? He got permission, so he'll do that when he's ready. In the meantime, he's got to not just set the seeds of people's distrust in David, and to set the seeds of their trust in him. He's going to do more than that. He's got to actually plan a moment of rebellion, because you've got to plan it perfectly. Because don't forget, there's always forces who will come and put your rebellion down. You've got to get them off guard, and it has to be unified, the attack. Otherwise, it gets put down here, and it doesn't work. You've got to get everyone at the same time, synchronized. By Yishlach Avshalom Meraglim, Avshalom sent spies. Now they are spies, but not in the normal sense. B'chol Shivtei Yisrael, amongst all the tribes of Israel, Lamar, saying, Kishamachem, when you hear Eskol HaShofar, the sound of the shofar, V'amartem, and you shall say, Malach Avshalom b'Chevron. Avshalom has become king in Hebron.
Wow.
So you'll hear this noise, and this is the message, and everyone will know. Okay, now, because David's died, or he's taken over the throne, I don't know, but there's probably more to this story than here. That means there were, what do you call them, groups of people who would meet and discuss this, and Absalom's going to take over the kingdom, and then at some point, well, you have to have a time when it's synchronized, that everyone knows it's happened, and when you hear this stuff, you'll know it's happened. And then you'll all join in this rebellion, and we'll get rid of David. And everyone's happy, down with David. No one likes David in any case, because they think that he's a womanizer, he's a murderer, he shouldn't be, he's a two-faced, what's the word?
Schemer?
Yeah, and then
Conniving.
What? Conniving, and in actual fact, that's really a good description of Absalom maybe, but that's the way people see David. a hypocrite. That's the word I was looking for.
Oh.
He writes to Hillel, he'll be a big tzaddik and all this stuff, and he's off there with his married women and pumping off their husbands and just like that. And people don't like him. He's got a bad name, David. Okay? All right. Ve'esav Shalom holchu. That means together with Avshalom. The word es over here means with. With Avshalom went Masayim Aish. What's Masayim? 200 men. This wasn't just a simple story. 200 people went with him. Mi Yerushalayim, from Yerushalayim. Keruim. Keruim means called. Called means invited. He invited 200 people. V'hoilchim, and they are going lesumam. Lesumam means
Pure?
not really. Why do you say pure? Tumah is the opposite. That's impure.
Impure.
Yeah, but it doesn't mean that here, because that's with the test. This is with the tough.
The
This is on the word tam.
Simply.
Tam, simple. He's one of the 4 sons on the Seder night. Chacham, the Rasha, the Tam. So in the Seder night, it's got a little bit of a negative connotation. It means, right? It means that sort of simple. He's not like the Seder de Elisha, right? He's like always pictured like this. He doesn't know. But he's sort of a bit simple, right? But on the other hand, Yaakov Avinu is also called Ish Tam. Yaakov Ish Tam. You've heard of Rabbeinu Tam?
Yeah.
Was he the guy who waits 72 minutes after Shkia?
I just thought
Right?
that was-
And he has a special type of tefillin? No, Rabbeinu Tam was Rashi's grandson.
I thought that was short for Thomas.
No. His name was Yaakov. Rashi's grandson was called Yaakov. But in Middle Ages, they had this sort of poetic way of giving people names. So although his name was Yaakov, but since it says Yaakov Ish Tam, when it describes Yaakov Avinu, see, he was called Rabbeinu Tam. Okay? Now, why was Yaakov called Tam? He wasn't simple. What it means is straightforward. It means simple in contrast to Esav. Esav was conniving, right? And cunning and plotting. That's Esav was. And in contrast, Yaakov was an Ish Tam.
Like what you see is what you get kind of simple.
That's it, exactly. That's it. You mean what you say what it means. That's Yaakov Avinu. Straightforward. It doesn't mean he was simple, but it's simple but it's come to mean simple because it has the same. Okay. So now here it means they were going in their innocence. These people knew nothing about it. It seems that Avshalom purposely invited people who knew nothing about his plotting, although there were a lot of people in the country who did know about it, but he didn't want his father to suspect him, so he invited the most simple people who really were completely innocent, who knew nothing about this. And that way, that would have noticed, if it was all Avshalom's friends, his mates who he hang around with, right, from the pub and that sort of stuff, then David would immediately chat. Yeah, they didn't. He had this tzaddik and that tzaddik and this Rosh Hashiva and that guy who there's no reason to think that these guys had anything in. Okay. David's best friends, maybe, right? They were going lesumam. Lesumam means in their simplicity. They knew nothing about it. But as it says, v'lo yadu kol davar, they knew nothing about Avshalom's plot. In contrast to the Meraglim, who were around the whole country, right, who did know about it and just waiting for the code.
He was so smart, Avshalom.
He was a clever guy, right?
Avshalom, yeah.
Vayishtach Avshalom. Now listen to this one. Vayishtach Avshalom es Achisophel Hagiloni. Now, Achisophel was a guy from. Where was he from?
Golan.
From Gilo.
Gilo.
No, from Gilo. It looks like it's from the Golan. No, I remember my friends of mine went in for the Tanach. You know, every year they have an international Tanach quiz here in Yerushalayim.
Oh, the
The
Bible quiz.
Okay,
My dad
so
was in that.
yeah, so I had we used to go in for it, and then the winner of the school would go for the regional thing, and he would go off for the whole country, and then the guy who won in England would go off to Israel, get his paid, and he would go in for it. So a friend of mine got paid to come here, I think.
Really?
Anyway, so one of the questions they were asked was who came from Gilo? Who in Tanakh came from Gilo?
Wow.
Right? That's the sort of questions they ask you. Right? The answer is Achisophel. So it's hard to see because it says Giloni. Right? Since the name of the town has a hey in the end, you can't say Hagilohi. You can't put a hey at the end, so you call him Giloni. He was from Gilo. Now, Gilo is not very far from Yerushalayim. The number 72, 71 bus goes from Ramah to Gilo. Both they go different routes. Okay? They both end up in Gilo. Gilo overlooks the zoo. Okay?
It's
That's
very
Gilo.
south.
What?
It's very south of the city.
Right. That's where he lived. All right? And Achisophel sent him. What did he send him to do? But who was he? He was, so Achisophel, that was his name. By the way, you're not going to know this, believe this, he was Bathsheba's grandfather.
Wow.
How do I know this? Because in the story of Bathsheba was the woman who's now married to David, who David is being accused of adulterizing with. Okay? It says she was the daughter of Eliam. says that in the story. Now, when it talks about David's officers in the second to last chapter of the book, there's 32 generals of his forces. One of them was Eliam ben Achisopel. So if we assume that the word Eliam was not such a common name, and it's the same Eliam, although you can't prove that, right? But assuming that Eliam is the same person, it means that he was Bathsheba's grandfather. Now he was also, as it says, Yoetz David, David's advisor. We never met him before, but now we know he was David's advisor. You'll see from the story, his advice was always what? Always perfect. He'd tell you when the dollar's going to go back up, just up. Right?
So where's this guy been the whole time?
Right? You'll see what happens at the end of the story. Yeah? Okay. So he was David's advisor, and Achitophel wanted him on his side.
Criminal memory.
Wanted David on his
side? Avshalom wanted Achitophel on his side. Wouldn't you want David's chief advisor on your side?
Yeah.
What's it called? Turncoat? To turn your side. Now, the reason why he would join David, Avshalom's side, makes a lot of sense. When you think that your granddaughter, your little sweet, cute granddaughter, has been abducted by David. Now, we know the story. It doesn't say that anyone did anything against her will. She was quite happy to marry David, right? But he suspected very likely David manipulated her and had violated her in a way that turned him against David. So outwardly he was still David's advisor, but he was waiting for the moment he could get back at David. And as soon as Avshalom knew this,
like Avshalom with Amnon.
Right, exactly. As soon as Avshalom was not stupid, right, he found out, and he got Achitophel on his side. But he couldn't take Achitophel to Hebron, because David would say, well, what's going on here, right? What's going on here? Bathsheba's grandfather, you're taking away. You need him for, he's my advisor, why are you taking him to Hebron with you? So what did he do? On the other hand, he didn't want him to stay in Yerushalayim, because then he may get caught on David's side. So what did he do? He needed to be him away from the fight, so that he could come and join him when he wanted him, wouldn't get stuck. He couldn't take him now, but he couldn't leave him behind. So what did he do? Yishlach Avram es Achitophel me'iro, he sent him out of his town, Gilo, from Gilo. So he said, leave, go on holiday. Go to Blackpool, or whatever it is. No, you don't know where Blackpool is, right? Yeah, why don't we go to Miami? And then, when I need you, you'll come. You won't be with me, but you won't be stuck behind. Gilo would be, David, if he's in Gilo, so David will hold on to him there, because Gilo's just outside Yerushalayim. Okay? This way, if you won't be in Gilo, I'll be able to call you when I need you. That's what he wants. So he sent him from his city, which means from Gilo, bezavcha et hazvachim, when he sacrificed the sacrifices which he's doing in Hebron. Okay. He hakesher amitz. Now literally it means the knot. Kesher is a knot. K-N-O-T. With a K, right? A knot was amitz. Amitz means strong. So a word for strong. You could say chazak, right? We say chazak ve'ematz. Okay? Be strong and courageous, right? I don't think, maybe courageous, usually courageous has positive connotations, right? I don't think these guys are courageous. Mighty, it says, right, okay, strong and mighty, what's the difference? I don't know. Whatever, it's another word. Okay, it's a synonym for strong. Okay? Now the word kesher here doesn't mean a knot, it means the conspiracy. It means when people get tied together, right? They may not, I think the reason why I use the word knot, because when you're knotted together, not necessarily for the same reason. Right? You have one interest. Achitophel's interest is revenging this, and he wants to be king. Everyone's got their own plot. We all get tied together in this conspiracy against David. You know what I think?
Like a knot, thinking there's many things that you don't want to knot in, like your tzitzit.
Okay.
You don't want to actually, other than these knots. Like accident, like a garden hose. There's.
So why what's it do with the conspiracy?
It's not in a straight line. It's not kesher. It's like. Messed up a little. It's like a Kalko,
Okay, these are crooked people.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So that's the word. Kesher means a conspiracy, right? We're just talking etymologically. Why is a conspiracy called a knot? What's to do with a knot? Okay, there's people tied here. Or something's tied. Something's not straight. Or there's people tied up together, and it became strong, mighty. The ha'am holech v'rav es Avshalom. And the people are going and multiplying. Rav means like harbeh. A lot of people are saying, now Avshalom hasn't done anything yet. He hasn't announced it, but beneath the radar, behind the scenes, a lot of people are silently siding with Avshalom's cause. Well, Vayavai HaMagid El David Lemar. No, I'm wrong. It looks like they've actually started the rebellion. No, it's happened. It means the word's cut out, the shofar's blown, and people have sided with Avshalom. Because already the reporters come to David. Haya Magid al David Lema. Haya lev ish Yisrael acharei Avshalom. The heart of the man of Israel. Now, which man? The men. But again, the men doesn't mean the men as opposed to the women. Right? It means the men in general, the army, the generals, the officers are behind Avshalom. They're following. The heart of the men of Israel is behind Avshalom. So, David has a choice. What's he supposed to do now? I suppose he could stand down and say, okay, if the Jews want him as king, he's the king. And he could do that. Right? I mean, it's true that he's been promised that he will be king and his sons, but Avshalom also one of his sons. Okay? On the other hand, I don't think that's the right thing to do. You just let some usurper of the thing. I mean, if he's going to do this, he's not going to be a good king. Anyone who can have the chutzpah to take the kingdom away from his father, right, is probably, like we've seen, nasty, not a nice character, and someone like that you don't want to be king. Okay? So I don't think that's a choice, to just stand down. But he still has two choices. He can fight, which is not a pleasant choice, having to fight his son, or he can run away. I mean, he can stay in Yerushalayim and fight, right? Or he can flee, and then what?
Maybe come back later.
Maybe come back later, right? Okay. At the moment, it looks like the people on Avshalom's side, and maybe now isn't a good opportunity to fight, because how many people does he have? He's got his loyal soldiers who just happen to be positioned in it. The army's not in Yerushalayim. The army's in wherever the army bases are. Or they didn't have army bases. I don't know what they had. They would call people to fight, and they would all go to Avshalom's side. David doesn't know. Okay? David doesn't know. He's been told that the people are on Avshalom's side. Maybe now is not a good suggestion to start fighting. Okay? To stay in Yerushalayim isn't a good idea either, although they have the walls of protection, which may be an opportunity. There's lots of innocent people in Yerushalayim. If Avshalom's a nasty guy, he may just fight till he conquers Yerushalayim. A lot of people will die as a result of that. There'll be a siege, there'll be starvation, people will die, there'll be disease, there'll be war. Maybe the best plan is just to get the move, and when you have the opportunity, we'll take the kingdom back. So that's what David seems to choose to do. David said to all his servants, those means his ministers, his loyal ministers, Asher Itoi, who was still with him, I suppose, or those who didn't live out of Yerushalayim. Asher Itoi, who were with him, Yerushalayim, Kumu, let us get up, V'nivracha, let us run away, flee. Ki lo tiyeh lanu peleta, because we will not have a refuge, mipnei Avshalom, in the face of Avshalom. Means if we stay to fight, and Avshalom wins, we'll all be dead. That's what he's saying. A pleita, like a machane pleitim, is a refugee camp. It means no one will escape this story if Avshalom takes over. So if we stay and fight and win, that's fine. Then we have to kill him. I don't want to do that either, right? You know, David doesn't want to kill his son. He doesn't want to be killed by his son either. So in David's mind, the best thing is to flee. Maharu laleches, let us go quickly. Pen Yemaher, lest he will be quick. We don't know how long this Hebron's not very far from Yerushalayim. Avshalom will come very quickly and take over, and then it'll be too late. V'hisigonu, and he will take us over. V'hidiach aleinu es hara'ah, and he will. I know the word hidiach usually means to incite. It's usually used in the sense to incite somebody else.
Which word?
Hidiach. Hidiach. How's yours translated? That's the root of the word. A meisisu madiach is the person who incites other people to worship Avodah Zarah.
What forms?
The hidiach.
I'm saying which being.
I don't know. It's hifil.
It's like to either thrust, move, or impel, or to banish.
Really? Okay. Here it means to cause to. It's clear what it means. It means to bring the evil upon us. The hika ha'ir, and he will strike the city by the sword. So this is what Avshalom will do. He will come. He will bring bad. Like I say, there will be a siege. There'll be war. There'll be suffering. And then when he conquers the place, he'll probably put everyone to death and take over the kingdom. And that's not a very pleasant possibility. So the best thing is all those who. Now, if we all leave, it doesn't mean all the inhabitants of Yerushalayim. There could be tens of thousands of Yerushalayim inhabitants. They don't have to leave. I'll leave with the soldiers and with my loyal guards and the ministers, and the inhabitants of Yerushalayim will decide what they want to do. Those who want to stay here, they live here. Their livelihoods are here. Their family, their schools are here. Their yeshivas are here. So they'll stay here and they'll join Avshalom's side. It's not the end of the world, right? They're not the soldiers in his army, right? And in the meantime, we'll all leave, and hopefully, sometime we'll get a better opportunity to take it back. And that's what we're going to do. All right, so should we leave it at that? Yes, I suppose it's time to leave it at that, and we'll continue tomorrow, please God.